So everyone is aware, we literally just watched the last episode, and I also got to see the ending of the fight with the anti-spiral in the Gurren Lagann movie. So he got to see the biggest that Gurren Lagann gets. And though STTGL size is a significant point of discussion in the community, there is no official stated height. Due to the nature of its existence, even having a physical height itself can be considered debatable. However, its physical size can be nonetheless estimated using available information. Estimates for its heights range from 348.48 billion light years to 4.5 trillion light years, compared to the observable universe, which has a diameter of 93 billion light years. The STTGL is 3.7 to 112 times larger than the observable universe.
Jesus.
Mike, read that synopsis.
Okay, one last time. Episode 27. The lights in the sky are stars. Simone and Nia are reunited. Team Gurren uses their combined spiral power to merge everyone together and create the galaxy-sized Tenjin Toppa Gurren Lagann, engaging the anti-spirals in a decisive battle for the fate of the universe. Now, galaxy-sized. Just sit on that for a moment.
Sit on for a moment for the fact that in that fight, they were throwing galaxies at each other.
Yep.
I've had, sitting on that wall over there, a picture, which I've now taken down. One of my best friends in my life, Elena Habermeyer, formerly Elena Turner. I will post some sort of link to her because she's a godsend that she made this for me when I asked her to. When I talk about that the show means everything to me for helping me through my toughest times, there is a quote from Simone that has been hanging in the back end there that is said at the end. Like I said, sorry I'm late, guys. It's the whole thing here. We evolve beyond the person we were a minute before. Little by little, we advance a bit further with each turn. That's how a drill works. I cannot say how much. It does not matter how little of a turn you make each day. If you keep moving forward, you are still making progress. You can still get through shit. A drill does not burst through things. It's gradual. You can make it through whatever the hell you need to get to. Just keep moving forward and you can make it there. This is the first thing I see when I wake up in the morning because it is faced right in front of my bed. And it means a lot that I get to see it every morning. That is just all that I have to say. Elena, you are amazing for making this for me. It is one of the most prized possessions that I have.
That's probably one of the best affirmations I've seen anyone have.
It's I cannot physically, I would sit here for hours describing how much the show means to me. And you get to see Simone put it into words himself basically throughout this entire episode.
Yeah, and it's perfect. I'm gonna get the question out of the way. There's not a goddamn thing I would change in this.
Nope.
Not even the ending, which we'll get to.
Yep, that was the one thing, if there was anything I thought about that, but it is so beautiful that it's just like, you know what, I'm not even mad. There's two big anime tropes that happen at the end of this episode. One, the title of the show is the name of the final mech. And
Yep.
Two, again, we get to hear Sororio Days playing when it was going to be go time.
Yep.
And the fact that you get to see, of all people, the biggest doubter of Simone's way of handling things, be the one that goes, it's bad, but it's going to take a hell of a lot more than that to take them down. And then Sororio Day starts playing. That is the fucking definition of poetic.
Yep.
Oh.
There's a lot here. Remember like when we started, I told you that this was a show that I never necessarily got to finish,
Mm-hmm.
but it's been talked about by my friends, and this was how they described the show. Like they didn't talk about the characters or like the sense of humor. No, they talked about how it ends with the hero and the villain throwing galaxies at each other. And I kid you not, this is like exactly what I imagined in my head before I actually saw it.
Yep. Do you want to say the thing that you've said multiple times now?
Oh. Hey, remember how this started with a head with arms and legs?
Fighting in a cave when the mech could barely move its arms.
They even call back to that with the finishing move.
They do.
It starts with the head, it ends with the head.
You get to see him Lagann impact into the main enemy, which we'll need to talk about that later because it's a thing that I needed to bring up. But we're going to talk about just how they used their own rules to do some really cool callbacks and stuff throughout this entire final fight. First off, the first thing that Simone sees is he has a literal living form of Lord Genome fighting alongside him with Viral and Nia ready to go. I can't put into words, just he got to fight the main enemy with the main
enemy
of the first season. And also, they put into words just how long Genome had been around. He's over 1,000 years old.
Dude's ancient.
Just because of spiral energy keeping him through longevity. And they use the observable universe thing to have everybody have a little bit of a moment. Yoko gets to fire her rifle as Gurren. She's like, I got this. And she just gets to summon her rifle. Viral got to fight the main enemy with his katanas in that form just because he got to think about it.
Even Genome, he busts out his old Lagann gun.
He gets to have, when I said that was my second favorite Genome line, Genome's I don't deserve to get to call myself your father and all that, and then leading into the Simone, let me handle this. And he again, this is about the only time they somewhat don't deal like what they're doing is not the coolest fucking thing imaginable. He's undergoing quantum breakdown to become one with the energy. And all he is a head on a fucking drill. And he screams, Simone, take the energy. If my body can make a path for future Spiral Warriors, then I will happily take it. You get to see the main villain of the main first series give his life so that the main hero of the entire show can take care of the main bad guy.
What did I say earlier about the older generation passing the torch to the younger?
Mm-hmm.
They've done this how many times now? It starts with Kamina, though they're bros, so yeah.
Well, he makes it for everybody. Gimme, Dari, and all them. He mentions them too. So technically, it does start with Kamina.
It starts with Kamina. We then go to Jorgen and Balanbo and Kid, Iraq.
Yep. Mocking. Zorthi. And last but most certainly not least,
Kitan.
Yes.
And now, fucking Lord Genome.
Lord Genome, of all people. I keep saying it that I can't put into words how much I love this show. And when they talk about how the rumor is that they saved 40% of their entire show's budget for these last 5 episodes,
you see the budget.
You see the entire budget and then some. And man, I'm trying so hard to not be the only person that talks during this. So I'm trying so hard to simultaneously just shut up. It's just that almost every frame has something amazing going on with it.
Mm-hmm. Everything from just the transformation. Well, everything from at the start of the episode, you get to see a little bit more from Nia's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Like her being like, Simone can do it. He'll I know deep down that he's gonna save the universe.
Yep. And you get to see the slideshow kind of thing with the anti-spiral. And again, driving home the whole "you're not special" thing. That is another thing that I cannot tell people enough. That is a lesson that the show taught me. The main, again, I'm going to use air quotes villain because we're going to get into a discussion at the end of this. Just driving home that anyone like "you're not special," and then just immediately telling them off that that's not true. I'm special to somebody. I'm special to me, damn it. And I've done enough. Just because you were special to somebody else is a coincidence. You're nothing.
It's one of the worst things that you can say to someone in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a difference between "you're not alone" and "you're not special."
Yeah.
You're not alone implies that, like, sure, what you're going through, other people are going through the same thing, but "you're not special" implies you're not important. You don't matter.
Yes.
That's important for anyone who, if you're going to talk to anyone who is like, who's going through some traumatic event or depression or anxiety, just tell them you're not alone, but never "you're not special."
Yes, because I don't give a damn who you are. There's something special about you. You are meaningful to somebody. And again, taking this from the episode with Rossio where I mentioned about my past with suicide and stuff like that, you need to understand, never please get to that point. Anybody. Mike just got done recording a mental health podcast. Just whatever it takes, please never let yourself get to that point. I've had it with myself. I've had it with friends. if us going through 27 episodes of a show showing that no matter what, please don't give up. Please don't. God, please don't. Yeah, I'm not gonna wax too philosophical about this because I will turn into a blubbery mess of tears. But yeah, let's just start running through the cool stuff more than we already have. The most ridiculous thing they mention outside of what I just mentioned that STTGL's size was, they talk about the attack that the anti-spiral is going to hit them with. That saying its energy level is on par with the birth of a universe and the Big Bang.
What do you call it? Like final Big Bang something?
It's something final Big Bang attack something, but it had Big Bang in the title. It's just fighting them on their own form, on their own level again, trying to do ultimate disparities. Like, I'm not going to be some big thing. I'm going to fight you in a form that you recognize for once. And just so we can get at you the most.
I've probably met the DBZ comparison quota, but I gotta do it one last time.
Yep.
It's Goku versus Vegeta if they were mechs the size of galaxies.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Like there are even moments when where the animator is like, I have to assume like they imagined that Goku and Vegeta were just giant mechs because the way they're like punching each other and throwing energy beams.
Yeah.
It literally looks like Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah. That whole fight, it's just, and I would be remiss if we didn't talk about how like they actually had an open portal to show like the one thing that they're protecting oh so much without all this. In the freaking Dayaka's I have the most amazing wife in the universe swing. And like, and also it's just we mentioned it before with how it started off with a head. Everything in the show has such a gradual progression to where I don't think it's ridiculous that we ended up at this point in only 27 episodes.
Because the pacing of this series is just remarkable.
Mm-hmm. It is. And you mentioned about how you love that that it ends with the head. This show does one thing that Zoid's Chaotic Century does that I really like. In Zoid's Chaotic Century, the main thing is Liger Zero. Organoid Zero is from Zoids. That's where I got it originally. It was one of the first big animes that I liked as a kid. If you can't tell, I like mechs. And the organoid system is what makes it special. It makes it evolve. It makes it different from everything else. And Zero is my favorite model of the Ligers because, like, I tell you how everybody has goggles and whatever. In Zoids, the main character is always a Liger. Mm-hmm. And in Chaotic Century, it wins a lot of its fights just being on its own because it adapts throughout the show with the organoid system. And then eventually it gets the Jaeger, the Schneider, and the is it the Blitz? Can't remember exactly. No, Panzer is the other one. It gets a speed, close quarters combat, sword mode, and an all-out just big barrage weapon mode. And through fighting the ending thing, the Genosaur, it gets all of these forms destroyed. And then there's a final attack by this thing where they think everything's done. And there's just wrecked things. Like, they're meant to be in competitions. but this thing literally fires a giant pulse beam at the carrier that like carries their team. Like it outright tries to kill them, which is just something the show never does because the thing took control. And then the smoke clears, or there's a big cloud of smoke, and you hear the theme start playing. And then out of the smoke comes Zero in its base form with no extra weapons, no attachments, just what it started out as. And it starts fucking ripping that mech to shreds when it's got all the extra attachments, and it just wrecks house and ends it. It's one of the coolest things ever. I'd highly recommend watching it. Just that scene alone, it is so damn cool. The intro music to Chaotic Century for Zoids. No, I'm sorry. I had that wrong. It's New Century Zero. Chaotic Century is the old one. But yeah, that's another one of my favorite things where it's like you get back down to basics. And they do a version of that where it busts through all the mechs to get down to it.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah. And we're going to have a little bit of a discussion more in this before we get to everything else, because the fight is the big fight, and we get to see him Lagann impact through the anti-spiral. And I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
For you specifically. One, you got to watch both versions of how that fight ends. And other than in the movie, for some odd reason, they are obsessed with showing you just how excited Nia and Yoko are. I'll just put it that way. For those of you that know, you know, they show a lot more than what is needed in that movie. And because it's Japan and they have to do things. In my opinion, I like how the final blow is dealt in the show more. But I kind of like I like both versions of the final line that Simone gives the anti-spiral. But I like how poetic it is to Simone's character in the movie, where after he takes them out, the anti-spiral's last line is, "If this is how it must be, please protect the universe at all costs." In the show, he goes, "Of course we will. We're not that stupid." And then in the movie, he says, "We will. Please have faith in us. Please believe in humankind." It's both ways of saying, I cannot stop telling this to people enough. Believe in us. We will make it. Which version of the ending did you like more?
That's a tough one. I think I like the movie a bit more, but in the show it feels more authentic to Simone. Yeah. At least in terms of the specific dialogue. But in the movie, I like how it's Simone the Digger who lays the final blow. Yeah.
It was the only thing that I didn't like about the fact of with that in the movie is that it is a pinpoint, like exact, almost recreation of how the ending with Genome is.
That's a good point.
That's the only kind of like knock I have. But yeah. But and the only other thing that kind of downs the movie version for me, not the fact that it has it, but those of you that watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, they bring back the "we're going to combine" moment, and they basically become a stand version of Kamina, which is just insane. But the thing that I find is weird is that, like, I just wish that we could have had the ending fight happen a little bit differently, because it's like they become this thing. And again, I mentioned the utter stupidity that is that mech.
Yep.
And like, just out of nowhere, it becomes as big as it, and it busts them down in almost as fast a time, right back down to the Gurren base form of Gurren Lagann. And I was kind of like, I think you should have showed the anti-spiral struggle just a little bit more, just because of how ridiculous you made the mech out to be. But that's just me. I don't know if other people feel that way, but
I mean, I see where you're coming from.
yeah. Okay. The other question I have to ask you. The thing that this show does that I'm hard pressed to find another show that does it is realistically everyone in this show outside of the four generals who in their own terms were doing what they were told by Genome, who thought he was doing the right thing. Outside of them with that small asterisk, there almost isn't an actual identifiable villain in the show. Every person that they come up against genuinely believes they are in their heart doing the right thing.
Yeah, like even the anti-spiral.
Like in his last breath, he begs them if it can't be done his way, protect everyone. Anyone in the comments, or Mike, if you can come up with something, is there another show that goes so far out of their way to show that even the villains are trying, quote unquote, and I'm going to say quote unquote villains, are like even to the end, are trying to do their absolute best?
I don't know if I have anime examples.
Any example?
I'm sure there are a million of them, but like oh, I got an easy one. I don't know if you ever saw Moana, but
Yeah.
the main there are like minor antagonists, but there isn't a main villain, and the one you think is the main villain is actually just like the monster you think is the main villain turns out to be like just one of like it turns out to be like the island that they're on.
Yep. That's true.
Also, another recent example, a Netflix movie called Over the Moon is another example of a movie that doesn't have like a main villain, unless you want to count like this group of biker chicks as like as a minor antagonist. And I meant that literally. They're literally chickens who are like a biker gang.
That's funny. That's funny. All right, but yeah, back to the actual show. We'll get over our total thoughts, obviously, when this is all done. But you mentioned with a callback in the form of ending with Lagann. You even get a callback to Teplin with Nia and Simone after the final battle's done. In Teplin, you get to see the sunrise on the 7th day. Right as soon as they look back, they get to see basically the headlights of everybody creating a sunlight at both of them looking in the exact same angle, showing that the final fight's over and the darkness is gone.
It's so beautiful.
It is. It is. And I mentioned that I remembered that Coco said a line.
This is the line.
Yeah, I had to remember where the hell it was, and I forgot. And yeah, that was. I'll let you describe the rest of it because it was the thing that you were close to not being happy with, I guess, when you mentioned earlier with the thing being wrong. So
we'll get there in a moment.
Oh, if you want more, go ahead.
Actually, no. We'll yeah. So before we get to the epilogue, because there's an epilogue.
Yep.
Simone and Nia get married, or at the very least, they declare their love before Nia unfortunately dissolves.
Yeah.
Now, normally this would be a tragic moment, but Simone is such a pure character that not only is he not upset, but he knew this was going to happen. They all knew.
Yep.
They knew that this was the price of saving the universe.
Mhm.
That sure, he'd be reunited with like his soulmate, but nothing lasts forever.
No, and you mentioned, well, we have to mention the two lines, obviously, that lead to it. Viral compliments Nia. That I thought was so cool, where it's just like, we knew this was going to happen. I'm shocked she lasted this long. And Leon, yeah, she always was a tough cookie. And you finally get to hear them say that they love each other. You never got to hear it until that last episode. And her saying that it's not over because we saved the galaxy, so it could never truly be over. And then you mentioned earlier about saving for future generations. Gimme pretty much has a breakdown saying, like, for the love of God, you have to have a happy ending, man. Like, bring her back, do whatever, just bring back all the people we lost. And I believe it's Yoko that says that Simone's not God. He can't do those things. And we talked about how in the beginning, how Simone didn't want to be the most important person on the planet anymore. He just wanted to be Simone the Digger.
Mm-hmm.
He gets to have the communist shot where he flips the flag over and gets to finally just go be him.
Yep.
And he literally gives the core drill to Gimme and says, if I bring everybody back, it just get in the way of future generations. Somebody else can go through the tunnels I've already dug. And then even after everything, he tells Rossiu, everything's in your hands now, buddy. I know you'll make the better decisions.
See, this is why I've said that Simone is my number 2 favorite character.
And before we go on to the epilogue and more you describing the wedding, I just thought it was really poetic and absolutely nailed perfect the fact that they have Yoko wearing a tux and not a dress.
Yeah.
And of course, she wouldn't let him leave without the ring, but yeah.
Well, of course.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if I have much to say about the wedding other than, oh yeah, by the way, Rossiu ordains the wedding.
Of course. The one with a religious background, he finally got to do something with it.
That's all I have for before the epilogue.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about the epilogue. And then we kind of have to wrap up our thoughts on everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've stressed for the past couple episodes now how this show has, way back in the pilot, even they've stressed, actually yes the pilot, because like among themes such as never giving up, always pressing forward, the other theme is passing the torch to the next generation. We've seen that with Kamina's dad going to the surface, Kamina giving his life for Simone and the rest of the freedom fighters. Then we get Jorgen,
Ballenbow,
Zorthy,
Kid, Makin, and the biggest one of them, Keaton.
They give their lives for Gimme and Dari and anyone who comes after them. And now the epilogue.
Oh, don't forget Lord Genome gives his life for Simone and Nia.
Oh, yes. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
And now Simone walks away from his position to clear a path for the next generation. So we cut to 20 years later.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure the voice of Rasu is like the voice of his father.
Yeah, I always kind of thought the same thing because, like, I know Johnny Young Bosch quite a bit. I know his voice, and like he's good, but there's always a twang of how you can tell it's Johnny. Like he's one of those people that has the voice that they do at every show. They just alter it. I'm pretty sure they had the guy who played the priest from Ade Village do that. I'm pretty sure you're correct.
That's at least what it sounded like to me.
Yep, and how that he almost looks just like him.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you see an older Rasu. You get to see an older Gimme, an older Dari, a cleaned up Viral commanding the forces.
Yep. And one little one that no one really catches outside of Liron doesn't age.
Yep.
It's almost 30 years since we met him the first time, and he does not look a day older. But Rasu aged like 40 years and 20 years. But the one that a lot of people miss is that, remember little Nakim?
Yep.
He's the head of the Grapple forces, and he has to say goodbye to Yoko before he leaves. And he calls her Miss Yomiko. Just like, man,
They don't waste a single character who interacts with the main protagonist.
Yes. Can Gimme and Dari get to pilot Lagann or Gurren Lagann? That's just
Yep. And then we cut to Broom Kid or
Coconut Kid.
Yeah, Coconut Kid.
Quick before we get to everything with Coconut Kid, we did get to see a light flash that they buried, quote unquote, Nia next to Kamina.
That was.
And that he left the ring on the grave. That was one thing that I always think is very poignant.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's basically all he has left of her that he needed to bury with his bro.
Now we cut to Coconut Kid chipping away with his drill, and then an older Simone comes in. Have you tried drilling it softly, one step at a time?
Yep. Can't always force it. And then the kid interrupts him from saying, "Who the hell do you think I am?" Because even Simone realizes that he's just Simone the Digger now. And he doesn't realize how long it's been since he almost said that. And you get to see, like Lord Genome and like Keaton, that he has the spiral in his eye that they talk about how basically you could have longevity, so they don't know how long Simone would live after that. But I always love that that's a little touch that you've reached your peak form when you get the spiral in your eye, like you've realized who you want to be, pretty much. I just always thought that was so cool.
That is, man, I love this show.
It's good. And
I'll begin my final thoughts with a quote from La La Land. people love what other people are passionate about. The reason why I wanted to do this Fresh Takes series is because I know how passionate you are about this show.
Mm-hmm.
And because of how passionate I am for animation, I knew right away that one way or another I was going to love this series.
I've wanted for years to somehow find a way to, other than my own personal interests, go through this. And quarantine had to be the thing where I'm kind of like, I want to watch this with somebody. I need to watch this with somebody. And Mike has been my partner in crime for a lot of things. And I'm like, he's one of the biggest proponents for animation that I know. And if I'm going to get anybody to appreciate this, it had to be it, because I've blathered about this show to anyone that has the capability of hearing, man or beast, about how much I love it. And it's just, I'll never get enough of it. I will never not love every frame of every second of this show every time I've watched it.
And if I didn't have like a million other things to watch, I would probably do what you do and start my year with a rewatch. I might do that anyway, because I see why the kids love Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
And it even works because the main thing about Cinnamon Toast Crunch is swirls.
Yep.
Oh god.
But seriously, man, thank you for asking me to do this. I've had a blast through all of this 27 episode series.
I'm glad I got to do it with you, man. It's a show that, God fearing I ever have kids. I want to someday, and I've had it in my head that at one point I do want to have a daughter, and if I do ever have a daughter, I am going to almost be willing to give up a limb to name her Nia. I have had that as a goal in my head since I was in high school. If it ever happens, God willing, my wife is nice enough, in that future, if it ever happens, like I said, I keep that poster with me for reasons. For everybody, it's when, no matter what happens, just please God, if you have self-esteem issues, if you have any type of issues, just, you need to feel like you're important. You need to feel like you're a better person. You need to feel like you are good enough. First of all, you do not need to watch the show to know that you're good enough. I will put that point blank. I will not say that you need to watch any form of medium to think that you are a person that is worth your stock, that is worth everything in the world that you have. But if you need something that will take a jackhammer and just pound it clear into your brain that you mean something to someone, to everyone, watch this, please. There is not a lot of things where I would spend $500 on a Blu-ray set for something I can watch on Netflix. It means that much to me. I don't know how much more in words I could put into that I spend about a fourth of what I get in income in a month in what I got for that. But yeah. I don't know if you just want to go through moments of the series of whatever, or you just want to go through general thoughts, or how you want to do. I never really had a plan for how we were going to end this.
I'll just run through some of my favorite moments. And if you've been paying attention, I've been saying them pretty much every episode.
Yeah.
I'll start with one of my favorite episodes. The Simone Get Your Shit Together arc, while uncomfortable in the beginning, has one of the best payoffs. The beach episode is fun.
Yep.
I've said before, one of my favorite episodes is the one where we meet Vero for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Episodes 3 and 4, I think, were my favorite of the first bunches that we did, because it was the first time we met Vero, and it was the first time we met Kitan and the Black siblings.
Yep.
One more before I throw it over to you. As far as just a favorite moment, the first time we ever see the combination into the transformation of Gurren Lagann.
It's something else. They wanted that to be special, and it was. With the dumb lead up to where the first time they combine, and all he does is just pile the head onto his shoulders because the transformation doesn't work properly the first time. Ha! We got two heads now too. Everyone's just like, you didn't gain anything from this. What the hell are you doing? But yeah, to hell with Gatai when their theme starts rolling. I will ask you, outside of obviously Simone and Kamina, what were your favorite like character for character arcs in the show?
I liked seeing Vero's evolution from the typical anime rival to literally commanding the like commanding the Gurren Lagann force.
Yep.
I liked that. I kind of liked Kitan.
Yep.
Honestly, I kind of like each character's arc who has an arc, because not every character has one.
Yeah.
Like, sure, Daika and Kiel have a family.
Yep.
Excuse me. Liron goes from I can barely read to I am the most important engineer running the Team Daiguren.
Yeah. Right.
And then I'll end on this because I spent so much time hating him. Rasu's transformation from a naive son of a priest who couldn't even read to co-piloting Gurren Lagann after Kamina passed away, to then being Simone's second in command in Kamina City, to then realizing that his religion was a lie, and then ultimately gaining faith in Simone.
Yeah. I'm going to be that lame asshole that says every episode is my favorite episode, if you want me to be perfectly honest, because like there's not a one that I don't like. Like the one that I like the least, because they had to chop it up, is the sit in the hot tub till you're sick. just because like it's kind of like Frankensteined into an episode.
Yeah.
Um, just everybody is in the show for the reason they need to be in the show. The fastest turnaround for a character from just kind of being there to be annoying to being one of the most genuine, just best presented characters is Keaton. So for me, he has the fastest turnaround because like Rossiu basically has two fast turnarounds, but like it always matches. He just has the same personality. He just doesn't quite like get on board right away because he doesn't see clearly. There's very few shows that ever have a thing like Kamina, obviously. I'm trying not to do that. The one that shocked me the most is that the fact that they even acknowledge it is Nakim, just the little dude that gets the backpack and wants to be friends with the girl. That just like the fact that they have to put that much little detail into showing that that kid grew up to be the leader of the Grapple forces. But if I'm going to be the one that gets it the most outside of Kamina and Simone, because Simone is miles ahead of everybody, it's a tie between Keaton and Viral.
One person we haven't mentioned yet is Yoko.
That is true.
Yoko starts off as admittedly kind of the token female.
Yeah.
Until we meet the black siblings.
Yep.
But she goes from a more or less a freedom fighter who's fighting simply to survive to following her passion of becoming a teacher, jumping back into the battle, and then getting to witness the next generation.
Yep. That the first, as she says it, the first kids that were born on the surface, she got to see one of them that she taught being one of the heads going out and fighting. The fact that he took enough time that before they left that he had the messenger to make sure that she knew that she did good. Part of me is one thing with Yoko that was always weird for me in that last episode. It's like how I always tell that like when you had a big spiral awakening, they always have the spiral form in their eye. The one thing that was always weird for me when you see the last shot of Yoko, you only see from the bridge of her nose and down.
Yeah, you don't really get to see the eye.
You don't get to see a full form of what she looks like when she's older. I always thought that was weird if like they want to leave that up to the imagination, I guess. But one thing that before, and we're not get too much more of this because it's technically midnight where I'm at, but is that one MVP in this show is not a character. It's not a mech. It's not anything. Is the music.
Yes.
Every time, everything they do hits, and it hits great. Like I mentioned it before we go, that they have several different versions of the same damn song in that last season, and every one of them hits. It's like they even made an arc for Rap as a Man's Soul. They had just the bits of it in the start with the minor beats, and then they got the rap beat behind it, and then the very first time you get to hear it is towards the end of season or the end of season 1 when they finally have the wave going in the Gurren. And then you get to hear the final version and my favorite version when they're finally coming out of the Sea of Despair and they have the Super Galaxy Gurren. And well, it starts before then because you get to hear it when Keaton makes his sacrifice and he's talking to Yoko and that piano starts playing. It is so simple, but that gets my hair standing on end every time that piano starts. And And like you said it earlier, that you said it in many episodes actually about how you can tell when someone's important by the level of how much work is put into their music.
Yep.
Yeah, it's every little detail that is put into the show. It's like Gainax is now into Trigger, pretty much the main of what was in Gainax is with Trigger, but it's just like that was a force to be reckoned with at that studio. And they put everything into this show, and that's why they are known for this, because they didn't want to make mistakes like they made with Neon Genesis and a couple of their shows. They were like, we have something special. We're going to put our heart and souls into this thing, and it's going to be what we're known for. I don't know if they knew exactly just what they had their hands on when the animation started, but
by the time they finished, it was clear. This was something special.
Yeah. And Shoko Nakagawa, I cannot give her enough credit. She's the one that sings Serario Days and Happily is it Happily Ever After? I believe it's Happily Ever After or Happy Ending. I believe it's Happily Ever After. The song that plays the first time when Simone has his speech when he saves Nia and combines with Rossiu at the end of the Simone Get Your Shit Together arc. Just, it's so good. Outside of the main theme, what's your favorite song that they've done?
Outside of the main theme, probably the rap. It's either the rap or happy ending.
Yeah, that they hit pretty good. The rap is just so happy. It's weird that they get the same exact song and they can go on both opposite ends of the spectrum just like that. And they basically just slow the rap down. They don't even say it that much different. I don't even know if they slow it down. It seems like it's slower because it's a piano, but yeah, it's just, man, because it works so well in contrast. Like when they get the Super Galaxy Gurren up and it's playing the sad one, it's just such a tiny effect that they switch it back to the other one when the fight starts. And yeah, the art, the music, the everything. We're going on an hour here.
Yeah.
I knew we were going to get one that was going to pencil push towards the end there, but it's just the visual design, everything. I don't know exactly how much these are. I'm going to name some or a random fact about Gurren that I don't know if it's true, but it's like the symbolism that they kind of drove the show forward with. You get a lot of religious themes boosted into here towards the end. They use evolution as a form of like personal evolution, obviously. By the ending, you get that feeling. And I need to look up if this is true, because I've never actually looked into it. I just saw it. On this thing that I was looking up and what I saw for what the top 10, I looked through facts all the time, but they talk about symbolism. That obviously Gurren Lagann may not realize certain things that I guess, and again, I don't know if this is true, but this is what people have like put out. I've never looked into it because you can't find pin for point things because they don't say it exactly. But there's been stuff surrounding Kamina, I guess in Japanese is God. And in this other facts and stuff like that, it's like, again, I don't know if this is true, but it's just like stuff that they've put around for like facts that people have based around research and looking into the themes of the show.
Kamina does make sense because Kami is Japanese for God.
Yeah. And Simon Peter, Apostle of Jesus. And Yoko, supposedly, represents Mary Magdalene, Rossiu, Noah, and Lord Genome, Satan, a fallen angel.
It all adds up.
It does add up. Can I point you to an exact thing where someone says it in an interview? No, I can't. But ever since I looked that up, I've had that saved on here for ages. I was just kind of like, that does make a lot of sense when you think about it. And yeah, it's different. It's definitely different. But we've approached over an hour. I'm not going to ask you the question because you've already told me no. But I'm very, very glad, Mike, and I thank you enough that I finally got to geek out about this with somebody, though towards the end, I will admit of my own personal downfall that I think I talked way over too much in it to not let you say enough as it was, but I will get better in these future ones. This is one that was really hard for me to not lose my shit. We're finally getting to talk with someone about it.
You know what? It's fine. It felt like this was something you've pent up for a while.
It is.
So I was just happy to let you have the platform.
Yeah. And yeah.
Which brings us to our next installment of Fresh Takes.
Yes.
Well, the next two. These are two of some of my favorite movies, and ones that, well, the first one I've probably talked to everyone about. We're gonna review the Prince of Egypt.
Yes. Yep.
Because it's a movie that I've seen countless times, and this guy over here have you seen it before?
I've seen it once.
You've seen it once.
And when it was on VHS. So I might as well have forgotten the entire movie at this point.
Awesome. And after that, we're doing one of my favorite comedies. This is Spinal Tap,
which I have never seen. That was the one I had never seen. But
so
before we go too far, I will say, appropriately, this one goes to 11. A very good signing off note for we're going from Gurren talking from, but this one goes to 11 with Spinal Tap.
One more thing we'll tease, because we've mentioned it too many times. We're gonna talk about Neon Genesis Evangelion, and for that, I'm bringing in my tuned up co-host Cameron Ward, because this show has a lot of baggage.
That is putting it very lightly.
Yeah, and we're gonna go through all of that in the future. But for now, you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Captain K42. Find all my quick thought reviews on letterboxd.com/Coach K42. Find me in all the various Facebook groups. Check out Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Twitter at Ren Pop Culture. Check out all our podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. Last but not least, don't forget to check out renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we.
Exactly. You can find me everywhere at Organoid Zero, Twitch, YouTube. Those are the two main ones. I would say Spin On, but, and as we've said it enough of how much this show means to me, and I cannot say it enough to other people. Do not believe in the you that I believe in. Do not believe in the heroes that you believe in. Believe in the you that believes
believe in.
Believe in the you that believes in you. Please. Please, always and forever, believe in yourselves. Spin On. I love all of you more than you will ever know. Please take care of yourselves. We'll see you later.